Batman Arkham Shadow has been out for a week now, and its impact can already be felt across the gaming landscape. More outlets, journalists and content creators have dedicated their time to covering this VR game than they have all other VR games released this year combined, and an overwhelming majority have done so in an incredibly positive way. VR is changing, and titles like this have the potential to shift the narrative for those not already enamoured by virtual reality. Now, these big AAA launches connected to IP that audiences know and love aren't the be-all and end-all of VR's success, but they undoubtedly have the power to move the needle and bring in waves of new users, whilst also forcing people to reassess their outdated opinions of VR. So many still think it's a gimmicky, nausea-inducing fad that's centered around roller coaster apps and Beat Saber, so it's great to see Batman leading the charge and showing so many people just how incredible VR is and how far it's come in 2024. And it doesn't stop with The Dark Knight. If you thought Arkham Shadow was a one-off, accidentally phenomenal blip, then think again. These 10 upcoming VR games all have that same secret sauce and the potential to showcase everything great about where VR is at right now. These are the 10 best new VR games coming soon. Back in the early days of VR, Superhot acted as a sort of action-oriented onboarding experience for players not familiar with virtual reality. It was simple enough to understand quickly and really gave users a taste for how addictive and immersive these games could be. Fast forward to 2024 and Action Hero by Fast Travel Games could be the modern equivalent of this same concept, an easy to pick up and play but very hard to master VR game where you must battle your way through classic action movie inspired scenarios where time speeds up when you fire a gun, swing a punch, or basically make any fast movements, but it stays in slow motion as long as you move slowly and deliberately to dodge incoming projectiles or plan your next movements. Action Hero is exhilarating, it works up a sweat, and it has that please let me have just one more go addictive gameplay loop built into its DNA. It might not have the big flashy IP like Batman to hook in new users, but it has all the right pieces to become a classic new user experience for sure. A mixed reality puzzle horror adventure game? Now you're talking my language. If the Meta Quest is your VR platform of choice, you'll likely already know just how incredible mixed reality experiences are. The ones we've seen since the launch of the Quest 3 have far surpassed my expectations, and with each passing week they seem to get better and better. This new example of bringing VR objects into your real-world surroundings is a spooky investigation and puzzle-solving heavy adventure that sees the walls of your comfortable home environment peeled back to reveal portals into terrifying locations like morgues and a haunted facility packed with escape room-style scenarios that players must overcome. If you haven't tried it, then I promise you, watching videos of mixed reality doesn't do it justice. It's not until you instinctively place a VR object onto a real-world physical surface that it sinks in. MR games are incredible and will only get better with time. They're also fantastic onboarding experiences because they involve real movement around your playspace rather than artificial locomotion. However, a spooky horror game might not be the best thing to show your granny for her first time in a VR headset. A double whammy of one of VR's finest and most immersive genres now, flight simulators. Any game or experience that places you in a chair or cockpit inherently works really well for seated VR, and flight simulators have to take the top spot in my opinion, just ahead of VR mech games, due to the sense of speed, height and adrenaline here which is absolutely unmatched. I personally hate flying in the real world, but I adore taking to the skies in virtual reality, especially if it's in a combat focused flight sim. Aces of Thunder is exactly that, an upcoming PCVR and PSVR 2 combat flight simulator that allows players to pilot some of the most iconic vehicles ever made across all key theatres of war in a single player campaign or multiplayer online dogfights. The game looks absolutely breathtaking, and the devs have been teasing us with clips, snippets and updates for months now, with no sign of a release date anytime soon. But that doesn't really bother me. I'd rather this release in the very best content complete state possible, because the trailers they've shown have me so excited. Just look at all the details in the cockpits. This could be something very special indeed, and a massive console platform exclusive for PSVR 2 owners. However, if combat, adrenaline and high-intensity dogfight flight sim scenarios aren't your cup of tea, we also have Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 to look forward to, a game that will absolutely showcase VR in the very best light if you have the supercomputer to run it. Microsoft Flight Simulator is the peak of VR immersion and simulation. It's a game that allows you to embark upon flights in real time from any destination in the world at any time of day and during any kind of weather, with the most hyper-realistic and impressive visuals you'll likely ever see inside a virtual reality headset. It's just very demanding. Even with a top-of-the-range PC setup and the newest GPU, MS Flight Sim in VR can be a demanding beast. But scale back a few settings and skimp on some of the fancier features, and this is still one of the best, most serene and mind-blowing games you can hope to play with a VR box strapped to your face. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is bringing helicopters, gliders and a whole host of new aircraft into the mix, whilst also mixing things up with a brand new series of job-centric missions like search and rescue, air-based firefighting and cargo transport. I can't wait to push my 4090 to its very limits. Okay, look, I'm a glass half full kinda guy, and I always want to give every game the benefit of the doubt before I finally get hands on to form my own opinions. So that's why Starship Troopers Continuum makes an appearance on this list. I love Starship Troopers. The concept of a VR multiplayer game set in this universe, where you can hunt bugs with a group of friends, is essentially something I've wanted ever since I saw the original film all those years ago. It could be so good, and games like Helldivers 2 have shown us the hunger for this kind of Starship Troopers experience within the gaming industry. However, there's no avoiding the fact that the tiny gameplay snippets in this trailer, the only trailer we currently have, don't do a great job of selling the game and make it look a little bit, well, underwhelming. However, glass half full. The game was recently delayed to give the devs more time to improve the overall experience, and I want to believe that a Troopers game in virtual reality with a focus on multiplayer can be awesome. It has so much potential, and I just hope it lives up to it. I can already say with about 90% certainty that Wanderer Fragments of Fate is going to be an incredible VR game, and something that has the potential to be one of VR's very best of all time. I can say this because I already played through the original Wanderer VR and was absolutely blown away by it, and this is just a new, expanded, upgraded and visually phenomenal version of that same game. It's the studio using all the resources they have at their disposal and all the things they learned from their first attempt to make this very game to make the very best version of this game that they possibly can. And from all the trailers I've seen so far, it looks like they're poised to succeed. Wanderer Fragments of Fate is a time-hopping puzzle adventure game that sees players visit Aztec temples, the moon, Woodstock, the trenches of World War I, and many other far-flung locations on the hunt for objects and items that you can bring back through time to solve puzzles elsewhere. For example, you might find a remote control car in modern-day America that you need to take with you to the moon to solve a puzzle there, and then bring a piece of moon rock back to the Aztec to solve a puzzle there. It's intricate, it's gorgeous, and it's a fantastic example of a big, full-length VR adventure, the kind of game that many assume we just don't have in virtual reality. Hitman 3 is one of the very best, most content-packed and replayable stealth action adventure games ever made, and it currently has 3 very lacking and poorly designed VR versions. One on the original PlayStation VR, one on PC, and one most recently on the Quest 3. All 3 of these existing versions completely missed the point of converting something like Hitman into a VR game. They all offer the bare minimum as far as VR mechanics go, and none of them get things like interacting with the environment, manually reloading guns, interacting with inventories, or even just navigating through menus right. They all feel like the flat game forced into VR, and that is such a huge shame. So here comes Hitman 3's 4th attempt at VR greatness, and my god, it looks like they might have finally cracked it. This is Hitman World of Assassination VR, a complete package that includes all the sandbox levels from Hitman 1, 2 and 3 rebuilt for PSVR 2, with proper VR interactions, reloading, inventories, and generally just all the things you'd expect to find in a modern VR game in the year 2024. And it all looks absolutely glorious. This feels like IOI finally delivering the VR Hitman experience we've all been crying out for so long, and I can't wait to dive in. Fingers crossed we don't need to revisit this franchise for a 5th time before getting it right. We are now officially 1 week away from Metro Awakening, and much like every game on this list, I think it's about to be another incredible showcase for best-in-class VR experiences. It's a true Metro game, built from the ground up for VR by a studio that knows how to make a high-quality, top-tier VR product. A brand new single-player story that takes you into the underground subway tunnels of the Metro and has you facing off against all kinds of human and mutant threats, with great feeling gun mechanics, an immersive interactive inventory system, atmosphere so thick you can almost taste it, and visuals that look excellent even on standalone hardware. Simply put, Metro Awakening is the complete package, and another example of what can happen when we give an established IP or franchise to a seasoned VR developer who's passionate about the source material. We saw that with Batman. Camouflage had established themselves as an accomplished VR studio with Iron Man VR, and then delivered a AAA Arkham experience. We have Survios handling a brand new Alien game built from the ground up for VR. And here, Vertigo Games, developers of Arizona Sunshine and After the Fall, are tackling Metro. I hope this becomes a trend as VR pushes its way into the future. These studios are the backbone of the industry, and if anyone can do these big IPs justice, it's these guys. Alien Rogue Incursion has slowly gone from upcoming VR game that I am cautiously optimistic about to upcoming VR game that I need to play immediately because all these trailers look amazing and blasting xenomorphs in VR is all I've ever dreamt of doing. Developers Survios look very confident right now after all the recent Alien Rogue Incursion coverage, and the previews for the game which released yesterday have been overwhelmingly positive. It looks like VR has another hit on its hands here, and when you pair this with Batman and Metro, all dropping within the space of 3 months, that kind of kills any argument for VR being dead, a gimmick, or not having any big games. We just got a brand new Arkham, Metro, and Aliens game. VR has never been more alive. Now it's worth saying this isn't another Alien Isolation. This is a balls to the wall Aliens game that has you fully equipped to tackle the xenomorph threat head on in a world filled with details and lore accurate elements which tie directly into the films and extended universe of the franchise. Reading hands-on reports about how you need to physically wipe the blood away from computer monitors to read what's on them, and about how the gameplay feels like it was inspired by the Dead Space series and games like Resident Evil Village, I now feel much more relaxed about Rogue Incursion. The game is shaping up to be an Alien fan's biggest dream come true. Our first official VR Alien experience looks suitably terrifying, and the only question I have now is when the hell can I get my hands on this thing? Who do I need to speak to? I want to play this as soon as physically possible. I've already said so much about Behemoth in previous videos, but I truly believe this could be my VR game of the year in a year packed with incredible top tier VR experiences. Behemoth is just unlike anything I've ever played in VR, and it's the most ambitious thing that Skydance Games, the developers of Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, have ever built. This brand new trailer gives us our first glimpse of a brand new Behemoth that flies. I was so hopeful that not every behemoth would walk on the ground. I desperately wanted a flying or swimming creature, and they have answered my prayers with this new beastie. I cannot even begin to imagine just how insane it's going to feel when you're clinging onto the side of this monster as it soars through the clouds. That's the kind of experience only VR can give you. Everything about Behemoth feels epic. The larger-than-life encounters with colossal beasts, the chunky, impactful combat against regular-sized foes, the fantastical environments and the general scale of everything within them. This is the VR fantasy adventure and Shadow of the Colossus homage I've always wanted, and the short hands-on demo I had with the game in Germany this year reassured me that the team were capable of delivering an experience that feels even better to play than it looks in these incredible trailers. My only gripe with Behemoth, the only thing that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later, is the complete absence of a PCVR release date. This most recent trailer ends with a MetaQuest and PSVR 2 splash screen, but no mention of PC. Steam also says release date TBC, and that has me a little bit worried. If the PC release is coming later, then getting ahead and telling the audience that is the best course of action. Fingers crossed the PC version is landing in line with PSVR 2 and Quest, but the radio silence and lack of a Steam logo on these trailers is slightly telling. And that's all for today. There are so many top tier, high quality VR games on the horizon. VR has never felt healthier than it does right now. And if Batman Arkham Shadow was your gateway into this medium, just know that there is plenty more on the way. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do leave a comment down below, hit that like button and subscribe for more VR content. I'll see you soon for another one. Take care.